Hey, it's vocal coach Jaime Vendera. I'm back for another Singer Spotlight. We're here today with a good friend of mine, Andrew Bryan. And Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, because I am so busy and I get thousands of emails. But aren't you the guy that was telling me, hey, can you show me your range? Because one of my coaches or one of my friends don't believe it's this or that. Was that a couple years ago? Was that you and me?
Yeah, that's me, and that was I think a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can tell I'm way behind the times. The only thing I've done since then is I recorded we did a concert for a video, instructional video I was doing, and I think the highest note I hit on that concert was maybe a soprano B. I can't remember. A sharp or B. I don't remember. I don't pay attention because Scott does all these weird tunings, and he just makes me sing. I don't get to play keyboards or anything. So, Andrew, I'm glad you're here with us today. I like for us to get started. I want you to tell us about yourself. If you're married, you have kids, how long you've been singing, what you're into. Just let us know about Andrew Bryan.
Well, uh, most people that will know me probably will know me through my YouTube channel where I talk about films, and basically the concept is I play a character who is forced to watch terrible movies, and I basically riff on them and go away phone, and I take the mick out of them. It's not really a new concept at all. People have been doing it for ages, but I do that, and I'm also an actor and voice actor, and I've been singing for about 7 years now, but I've only been singing correctly with what you've been teaching me for about 2 or 3, where I really started to learn about technique, and of course I got your book, and I started to really sort of work on the technique and the huge difference.
Well, that is cool. It's I like what you told me about the YouTube page. Do you remember Mystery Science Theater 3000?
That's the inspiration. That
Okay.
is the
I
inspiration.
love that show. I love that show. It's so funny.
Yeah, I love that show too. That is
Well,
where it's from.
where exactly are you from?
I am from the East End of London, which is also known as the bad end that no one wants to visit.
Well, I would do my English impersonation, but you just informed me how really terrible it is. So I won't attempt it.
English West Country accent anyway.
So how old are you, Andrew?
I'm 19.
Not 19. Cool. So you haven't. You know what? Well, that's a music to my ears because, see, I was singing the bar 16. I think I was around 18 or 19 before I thought, you know what? I need to learn something. I need to get serious about this. And it probably took me another year or so, 20 or 21, before I really took vocal instruction seriously. So at least you got started earlier than a lot of people do. And you know what? You said you was a voice actor and you're doing all this other stuff. How did you actually get started singing? What like inspired you to actually want to sing?
It was the one that really kicked it off was I saw the movie adaptation of the Phantom of the Opera musical, and I saw it and I thought, yeah, it's pretty good. So it prompted me as a kid to look up the stage show, and I looked up the original performer of the Phantom that my nana told me about, who was called Michael Crawford, and he basically surprised everyone because he was relentlessly mocked about the fact that he was going to be the Phantom when he was known as a comedian in a British sitcom for years, and nobody realised that he could sing. And then when he's done the Phantom, which was this dark and serious role, and nobody realised what a brilliant classical voice he had. And I remember hearing his rendition of Music of the Night, which was the Phantom's signature song, and that got me stuck from then. And I realised that if I really want to become a great actor, I should also learn to do as many things as I can. And then, of course, singing from there became a little bit of an obsession in itself as well. And the two of them have sort of really grown together. So I don't think of myself as someone. I initially started to learn to sing because I wanted to be an actor, and then after that, I sort of got a real drive for both to get as good as both as I possibly could.
Well, that very unique because most of the people that I interview, it's like, hey, I was an Elvis Presley, I wanted to sing metal, and here we finally got our first actor who does voiceover and stuff. So with this technique of you studying to raise your voice, you're actually using this more to apply, even though you're singing, but to apply towards your acting and your voiceover work, correct?
Well, I always apply it to singing first because they're singing techniques, but even though I don't consciously think of it at the time, sometimes when I'm trying to come up with a new voice, I immediately flick back through Raise Your Voice and think, how can I control my voice in a certain way? Because there's a lot of crossover there. Because say, especially say, did you ever watch Transformers, like the old
Absolutely.
cartoon?
Yep.
Megatron, he was voiced by a guy called Frank Welker, and Frank Welker did a movie called Anaconda, and he provided all the sound effects for the Anaconda. So he had these really
Shut up.
brutal. That's him. The Anaconda is Megatron.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Those brutal screams and shrieks are all him. And I soon realised that if you want to do, say, voice acting as well, you've got to like, you don't have to learn to sing, but you should certainly learn how to control your voice from a singing teacher. I learned to sing because I like singing, but if you want to be a serious voice actor like Frank Welker or Billy West or someone like that, you really need to learn how to control your voice because it will, in my opinion, just destroy your voice quicker than what singing with bad technique will.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you're more in the, you're adapting your voice, you're mimicking sounds, you're doing a lot of speaking in a different character voice, so it can be brutal on your voice if you're not breathing, supporting, and placing correctly. Now, as far as singing goes, when you do enjoy that, is it mainly stuff like Phantom of the Opera, or do you like singing pop or rock, or are you into Aerosmith? I mean, what is your thing that you like to sing?
It's actually mainly rock at the moment, but I've always sang both styles, both a more classical-based style and a more rock-based style, as much as I could, because I was always afraid that if I sang exclusively in one style, I would forget how to do the other. And originally, I knew people like I listened to people like Axl Rose and Adam Pascal, and I was always sort of frustrated because I couldn't quite find that connection. Then, of course, I discovered people like, say, James Labrie, Dio, your voice as well, and I could, when I was hearing you guys sing, and I hear that connection where a sort of a classical operatic style and a rock style came together. So I tend to like to sing songs like that because I feel that I'm strengthening both my classical and rock side at the same time.
That's cool. And I'm humbled that you say that you like my voice because as a vocal coach, I'm so busy that I don't do a lot of singing. I do them in workshops, and we got 4 or 5 little rinky-dinky videos on YouTube, and we got out the instructional video where you hear me sing. And of course, Scott and I are actually recording songs for the Academy. But my main thing is teaching, so I'm very humbled by that. But you hit something on the head, though, Andrew, because classical, in all actuality, that is where my roots come from. That's Elizabeth Sabine, Jim Gillette. That's how they taught me. Even some of the stuff that Thomas Appel taught me actually comes from true classical roots. So I'm actually using opera technique to sing rock, to sing pop, to sing blues, to sing gospel, to teach country, and all these. So if it's not broke, you don't fix it. So it's a good foundation. Is a good foundation. Now you're kind of unique, so I want to know what your warm-up routine is, but I also want to know if it differs. Like when you're getting ready to do a voiceover gig or you're doing some character voices, what is your warm-up for that as opposed to warming up for singing? Is it the same? Is it any different?
With singing, it is, I like to keep within the basics at the moment, although I'm starting to work more on exercises, particularly in the bridge, covering the passaggio, because I want to get that that better. But initially, and I'm working on that more now, but initially it was just sort of more of the basics, siren, transcending a tone, um, that scaling up and down, and also I would practice a lot with vibrato and do all that and make sure that I had that there before I started singing. But
Oh,
with
so
voice
that's
acting,
cool. So you actually do that for warming up. That a lot of students don't do that, but that's unique. Everybody's different. A lot of people refer to the lip bubbles and stuff. But with voice acting, how do you warm up for that?
it depends on the character because obviously voice acting you could have such a massive range of voices. I did an audition for a an independent video game. I didn't actually get the audition, and I don't know if the game is still in production. But the character was a character called the Eye, and it was a computer program. And I decided I wanted to make a really low resonant voice, so I was doing downward sirens a lot more. The
Gotcha. Yeah.
to keep that space open. So then when I'm performing the voice, I can keep it going more. And if I didn't do that, I would lose it quite a bit. Because obviously, as you can tell from me talking, I'm in a sort of a baritone range, but I'm not a Barry White kind of guy that just talks and sounds like that. So I
Hmm.
have to do a lot of. I do the lip bubbles going down, but I tend to hum quite a bit more because voice acting you can get away with more than what you can singing because of the microphone is recording you. So a lot of voice actors, you will think when you're hearing this really deep, terrifying sort of voice, and you think that they're doing it really loudly, but a lot of the time it can be very quiet.
Hmm.
And just kind of like this, but because the microphone, they will play it louder when they're editing it, and it makes the voice appear like it's at speech level when it's not. So I could get away with it a bit more, but I always tried to make sure that I was doing downward sirens more than anything because I trusted that exercise a lot more for that sort of placement, that really open sort of space in your throat when you were doing it.
Well, I actually like where this interview is going. This is very different from the others. So I actually want to kind of tweak a couple of these questions. I want to know when you're going for a voice acting gig, and it's a certain voice. How do you practice? And like, how often do you see the gigs coming up in a week? What do you practice? How often per day do you practice? How do you practice to get prepared for any particular gig that you're auditioning for?
Well, the good thing about acting for me is that because obviously I'm kind of shy and singing is loud, so I tend to practice singing more when I'm on my own at home, when it doesn't really matter. I'm not disturbing anyone. Voice acting, I can practice wherever, which is great. But what I will do is first you have to, much like again, like I'm going to keep drawing links to singing. When you're singing a song, you've got to establish, I think, a link with that character, because I often like to think of a song as a story being told by a character. It's like a poetry reading. So I like to establish what I feel that character's going through. So say if you're singing, you're trying to get into the head of like what are they feeling? How would I be feeling? And I find that when you've got a voice acting gig, it's much the same thing of you need to understand the character before the voice comes out. Because if I'm practicing a certain voice, say like I was doing the voice for the Eye, which is that deep sort of Texan accent, and then I actually get to the character and it turns out his personality does not fit that voice. There's going to be a real disconnect there. So first I need to understand what the character's like and then think, how do I get there? How do I what would he sound like? Not just in terms of his core voice, but the way he speaks, his phrasing, because it does make a huge difference of say the Joker in the film The Dark Knight, or the voice like this. Now you see, if I just talk in this voice, it doesn't have the same effect because I'm talking normally. my phrasing is normal, but when Heath Ledger does it, and he has those pauses in the you really you don't hit them in the head first because they get all fuzzy. It's those pauses and those drops and the dips up in tone that really create the thing. Like say Ian McKellen, Gandalf, when he does that big shout in Lord of the Rings, the "You shall not pass."
Yep.
He actually uses vibrato while he does that. The "You shall not pass," and he uses his vibrato there. So it's actually those little things that will really
Bring the
make
character to life.
a voice. Like if you ever try and look for impressions of certain people, you'll find the ones that do the best impressions are the ones that are speaking like that person, not just sounding like that person.
So they're following the mannerisms. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, so going to lead into this. Before I hop into another question I have, I want to know how, jumping back in time, how did you even find me, or how did you find out about me? Because I vaguely remember that email, like, dude, I need you to show me some crazy high notes because so-and-so don't believe it, blah, 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 blah. But like I said, I get hammered all the time, so it's hard for me to get caught up. So was you searching, or was you looking for a vocal coach, or how did you stumble across me?
I was looking for a vocal coach, and I was looking at people like the three that I'd been looking, because I've been watching your YouTube videos online, and that was of course you, it was Ron Anderson, and it was Brett Manning. And when I saw your video, because Ron Anderson is an enigma as far as the internet's concerned. The guy doesn't exist. You can't really find anything of him outside his website.
Got a lot of respect for Ron. He's a good coach.
Great guy, and no disrespect to him. But say when I found your videos, you're actually explaining how to do it, and the fact that you would actually sing in your videos as well. Like I remember one where you were explaining high range, and out of nowhere you spontaneously combusted into Back in Black by AC/DC.
Yeah.
But I loved that because there are so many people out there that are giving singing advice, and a lot of them aren't actually vocal instructors. And I'm all for people giving advice, but you need to know you're going to the wrong place. And the second I heard that, it was like, this guy knows. And I did more research, and I found out about all these like wonderful artists that you've worked with, and I thought, yeah. So I got into contact with you way before, and I was about 16, and I was looking for work at the time, and I wanted to take lessons under you then, and I spoke about it, and then I had trouble finding work, and then a bit later I thought, I was talking to this person again about the high range and stuff like that. This person didn't believe it was possible for say a baritone, say someone of my vocal range, to take on a song like the songs that the Phantom sings in Phantom the Opera. Now I don't know where he gets this information, not because it's not technically true, but the fact that if you look through all the people that have played that role, a lot of them have been baritones, so I'm not sure where he got that.
Well,
but
it's technically untrue. Your guy is wrong. He's flat out wrong. I mean, I'm not meaning no disrespect.
Exactly.
But I've seen it. I've been teaching since 1996. I don't care if you're a bass, baritone, or tenor. It's all about building the muscle to extend the range. And
Axl Rose.
Absolutely. He says he's baritone. He sounds more like a lower baritone kind of bassy guy to me, but he does a lot of the pharyngeal stuff, and it sounds really cool. I mean, that's why they sold millions of records. So, it's all dependent. Even this with character voices. It's how muscularly strong you are to represent, an individual tone or individual pitch. So the more strength you have, the more range you're going to have, the more different tones that you can apply. So, and speaking of which, when you started doing like raise your voice and all that, what did you notice? How has it helped you? Was it able to let you expand your range, or maybe your character voices became easier? I mean, what did it do for you?
Well, the immediate thing I noticed was that I went from not being able to sing on key, as in literally not being able to stay on a note or recognise what a note was, to being able to do that, and that was just through breath support, and of course through sirens and exercises like that. And I bring up the siren a lot because that is my main one. But also, you know, what you describe as the zip up method.
Yeah, the zipper technique, absolutely.
Yeah, and from there over. This is not an overnight thing, but
No.
my vocal range went from being about 2 octaves, about normal. It went up from there to about 3, and in the and now I would say it's about 4. But I don't know how connected it is just yet by hearing it. But there's there is it's very rare that I now find a song where I can't match the notes, but there's plenty of songs that I cannot yet sing effectively because I don't necessarily have the control there.
Well, you know, I'm not
But
trying to
yeah,
pick up any of my other things, but that's why we finished Tuned XD, which is the iPhone iPad app, eventually be out as a thing. And if you got Raise Your Voice, you know it was the Vendera Digital Vocal Coach, because I had people who are like, I've expanded my range, I'm singing better on key, I don't know if this is connected, so I'd always have them work with a tuner. But I was like, man, I just wish I had an all-in-one software program or an app, and of course now we have it, because then you can actually watch your decibel level, your tuning, as you're doing these exercises to make sure that you're connected as you're practicing. So it does. It doesn't happen overnight, and even like the zipper technique you mentioned, I want to give props. I always give props to my coaches. Thomas Appel is the one that taught me that. As another one of my coaches that I highly adore. Him, Elizabeth Sabine, Jim Gillette are the ones who I say that really trained me. Andrew, now that you've kind of getting along, I'm sure you're doing these exercises, you go for a voiceover gig. Maybe you get it. There's somebody that went and tried out too, they didn't get it, and they come to you and say, man, that was amazing. I'm just not getting this. What advice can you give me to be a better voiceover actor? What would you tell them?
I would tell them 2 things, and that is the first one to get out of the way is, of course, learn vocal technique. Of course, I would recommend you, but learn good vocal technique. And the second thing I would recommend is don't become a voice actor, become an actor, because you will not find a voice acting school generally, unless you find people online that are that you are able to find. You will not be able to say for example me, I cannot go into London and find a school that teaches voice acting, especially because it's kind of a dead art over here, because animations are not really produced here anymore. But if you can find plenty of acting schools, you can find plenty of singing schools, plenty of vocal instructors, because in order to be a good voice actor, you need to be able to control your voice, but also you just need to be able to act. You've got plenty of people like Keith David, who is in the Halo games, and he was Goliath in Gargoyles, the Disney series. He does not put on voices. He just actually sounds like that. But he's such a brilliant actor that he can carry any role you give him, and he's not necessarily having to make his voice particularly different. I do think that if you want to be a really good voice actor, you should be as versatile as you can. But yeah, that is what I'd say. Learn to act and learn to control your voice. And also, of course, I would say, you know, learn to sing, because apart from it just being fun and a good thing to learn, and it can be very engrossing, if you want to be a small time actor, if you want to be going for roles in theatre and local theatre and things like that, the majority of stage roles that you will find can well be musical theatre, and it's always best to make sure you're not limited. It's the same thing, I think you'd agree with singing. The more styles and the more eclectic your choices and interests in music that you take in, the more that can affect your own development as an artist, and it gives you your own unique style all the more.
Gotcha. Beautiful information. So, if people want to check out your YouTube page, you do some acting in that, I'm assuming. So,
Hmm.
do you do different character voices as you discuss movies?
I have started to a lot more. I originally I just sort of play more of a standard character, though. One thing that I do is when I'm playing my character, which is the cultist, because of course the web series is the Cult House, name dropping here, which is basically cult films, sort of those old films you find in bargain bins that no one wants to touch. Those are the things that I end up sitting through. But because but I've always put on a voice. I don't sound exactly like what I do, but now I do have sort of more random gags that will come in, and I will do a different voice for that. And generally, if I wanted to put in a musical joke, like say match up a clip from the film with a certain song, if YouTube is not letting me play that song and it mutes the whole video track, which they like to do, I will just record that segment of the song myself and put that in there.
That's cool. So, what is that YouTube channel so they can find you?
Right, the YouTube channel is difficult because the URL is difficult. So I will say if you type in Andy's Madhouse, you will be able to find me very easily, and that is where I have my web series, The Cult House, and there's other things that I do there. I put up voice reels and things like that. No song covers as of yet because I don't have a very good microphone to actually record things like that yet.
Yeah, but that's fine. You're doing something with your voice that's unique,
Exactly.
and it's still using your voice. So
Exactly.
you have to have technique. So very happy to do this interview, and I appreciate you being here today. And we are running a tight schedule, so I wanna call this
Let
the
me,
end. But go ahead. Yeah, I was going to ask you if either one of you had a final thought.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, dude. Thanks a bunch for the interview. It's awesome. Now, just go ahead and send me the link to the YouTube, and I will add it to the description underneath this video when it's on YouTube, and then put it over on Jamie's website for anyone to go check out your stuff too. So.
Okay, it will be in your Hangout box now.
And
Cool.
when you do put out songs, let us know because we'll slap them on there too.
Okay, I will do then.
Well, Andy, thank you for such a great singer spotlight. I enjoy meeting and talking with my students and people who use Raise Your Voice. I'm very humbled. Like I said in another one, I can't believe I wrote a book 10 years ago and it's so popular. Of course, I keep writing books every year, but Raise Your Voice is like the staple that everybody knows me from. Well, that and shattering a glass or two here and there.
Mythbusters. I actually I never connected the dots until I saw the episode of Mythbusters a few years back, and I'd found out about you, and then a couple months down the line, and I saw it then, and then it was like, I know that person.
I ran into someone who says, "You look familiar," and I said, "Well, I was with Mythbusters." I said, "No, that wasn't you. That was the singer from Coheed and Cambria." It must have been the fuzzy hair. All right, guys. Well, it's the end of another Singer Spotlight, and
Yeah.
I thank you. Of course, Benny's always here with me to keep me in line. And Andrew, thank you so very much. And we'll see everybody the next Singer Spotlight.